Philip Kaufman version is one of the darkest color films I've ever seen. You know, I really had to strain to see the details of it, and that's an important part of this process of drawing you in to pay more attention, and then they can shock you with something.
What we really wanted to do here was to try to create in color what, you know, film noir did in black and white, and there really, you know, hadn't been much of that done. I mean, we really didn't have any color precedents there.
And he hired a great cinematographer, Mike Chapman. And if you look at that movie, as I did recently, it's incredible what kind of a contribution Mike made, because it's subtle stuff all over the movie, whether he's shooting through glass or whether he's giving you extraordinary shadow play on the wall.
I had done already several movies with Phil, and that was always fun, so I jumped at the chance.
We spent a lot of time actually at the Pacific Film Archives when preparing, looking at a lot of film noir, you know, classics, some of the great cinematographers.
We wanted to emphasize a kind of visual paranoia that you're looking here and you're looking there and you don't know what's going on. So I would act with the camera that way.
There are some Hitchcock techniques that he uses, film noir type of techniques. For instance, when there's an Asian woman who's been infected and her husband is worried about her. When you see that woman, she's in shadow, her face is in shadow, and then she steps out into the light. But that little bit of shadow across her mouth is right out of the Hitchcock playbook, and ties the movie a little bit with this expressionistic world.
That's not my wife.
He and I would go out into the streets together because we wanted that authentic thing of the real San Francisco, of a city, you know, the dawn of pottiness there was lurking there in the streets, and that anybody could be enveloped by it. If a bus goes by and we had a handheld camera and you just see people, exhausted people just sitting there at the end of the day, or just to have the camera move through streets of shoppers, you know, having lost their souls in a department store. So one of the ways we did it, I remember, was he would sort of wrap a coat around the camera, and the two of us would just sort of walk down the street, and you know, then he would sort of swing around and follow somebody.
We just wanted to be as discreet as possible, you know, and not call attention to ourselves. So if it was a little airy, probably, and with an eyepiece like that, and I could just, or with nothing, and I could just aim it and figure out where it was going. And if you did that without any lights, or without anything calling attention to you, or the assistant director stopping people or stuff like that, you could just wander down the street, and we did.
Riding back from the shoot, he would photograph out the window of the nighttime buildings of San Francisco and catch these sort of eerie people in their offices just before they left at the twilight time. And some of the montages have those stolen moments in them. There's an amazing sequence in the movie inside a bedroom where Donald Sutherland has just brought Kibner in, and Elizabeth is lying in her own greenhouse about to become a pod. It's a very crowded, small room. And it sort of occurred to all of us when Phil tried to block the thing that the room was really small, and there were probably 6 or 7 people in it. And how on earth is he going to cover this? And Mike said, "Give me the camera."
And for that, Mike Chapman dressed totally in black and sort of did a dance through all of the characters so we could shoot 360 degrees without any reflections of the camera showing up.
And he put the camera on his shoulders and said, "Just everybody play the scene." And he stood in the middle of it. And he would just whip around here or there, get a close-up, drag the camera across somebody else.
I did that because I wanted to sort of make the camera be a person and go here at a certain line and there and sort of wander around and look at things, you know. So I did operate it. Yeah.
And it's really wonderful because it's edgy, and you realize the camera's standing in the center of it, and he's trying to, on his feet, solve a disastrous scheduling problem because we would have needed 4 days to figure out how to cover it conventionally.
Mike Chapman had a great appreciation for what the great cameramen had gone before, and not that he was trying to copy them, but just, you know, be stimulated by them and be true to what their visions were. And he was a great film scholar.
I think we thought we would sort of have fun with it and have sort of slightly campy shadows and angles and this and that were somewhat self-conscious, because the movie's self-conscious, but I think in a good way.